Hey you guys, Deb Horn here, VP of Marketing with We Buy Houses, and this is a special training program that we're putting together for wholesalers. It's called the Wholesale Accelerator, because that's what you guys often tell us when you call on the phone. How can I get started in this business? What kind of training and coaching can I get to help me get going quickly? And so that's our goal today. So we have a couple of guests here. First is our wholesale expert, Kai Johnson. Kai's done a lot of wholesaling, and for probably how many years?
Since about 2008.
Since about 2008, so he's been doing it for a while. And we have Adrian Schlueter, who is a new We Buy Houses licensee here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and also pretty new to the real estate game. But you've done a lot of work to, a lot of study and things, so you're not coming in cold.
Yeah, done a lot of ground reading, searching it out and trying to learn more about it. But
that's great. So that's basically what we're going to do today is we're going to have a conversation. We've invited you guys to come in and join us for this conversation. We think at the end of it, you and Adrian also will be ready to go out there and hit the streets running and make a killing in wholesaling. So that's it, and let's jump into it right now. Now, where this journey will begin is we're not going to talk about lead generation today. We're going to assume that either through, you're part of We Buy Houses, or you're doing your own thing, or you're part of some other system where you've got a lead generation system and you're getting people to contact you, qualified people that have equity in their houses, that kind of thing. So we're assuming that you're doing that. So our process today will start with a call coming in, and we're going to basically start from right there. And so when a call comes in, the kind of question I'll pose to you is, are you trying to determine, and I realize it could be an email or a call, but you're trying to determine right off the bat if it's a wholesale deal? I mean, is there certain numbers or certain things that you're looking for to say this is a wholesale deal that I want to pursue?
Yeah, I think the first thing I'm looking to do, or any wholesaler is looking to do, is obviously establish yourself as, hey, I'm a local buyer in your area. I'm a cash buyer. I'm looking to pick up a couple more properties this month. Tell me about your property. And you're trying to quickly establish what the motivation is, if there's any motivation there, and quickly weed out the folks that might be just looking for a full retail type offer. Because obviously we're not in the business of paying retail for properties. We're paying cash. We're closing quick, and we're taking our properties in their as-is condition. So we need to quickly find out whether that person is motivated and potentially willing to discount the property to get what we have to offer. Because we're actually offering our service. I mean, it's cash, quick close, and we'll take it as is. And the people that find value in that, those are the people we want to work with.
Are you trying to fully qualify them on the phone call? Because one of the things that we've been thinking about is some people tend to throw away their leads because it's almost like they're going through their leads trying to figure out a reason this is not going to fit. Oh, they don't have enough equity, or they're outside the area, or they're not motivated, or whatever. Have you found that there's certain things you can find out on the phone call, and then other things that you find out when you actually physically get there and meet the person?
Yeah, I mean I think the number one thing is you've got to quickly determine, because if you don't want to waste their time, and you don't want them wasting your time. So you've got to weed out the people that are looking just for a retail type offer as quickly as possible. So you can ask them a couple questions and determine what they're willing to take for the property. You might have an idea based on kind of the area, and if it sounds like they're willing to discount it quickly for cash, and they're willing to take a quick as-is type sale, I mean, that's something you want to pursue. But if they say, hey, I'm, if you ask them, hey, what's the least you'll take for the property, and they say 100, and that houses around there are selling for 100,000, you might not want to spend too much more time with that. You might want to say, well, is that the absolute best you can do? If I can pay you, cash and close quick and take it as is, I mean, what is the absolute least you can take for the property? And if they still say 100, you say, well, you're probably, I'm probably not the best, fit for you. You might be looking for a retail, or, or maybe, hey, I have this realtor. Maybe a realtor could help you, for example.
Yeah.
Do you try to explain to someone what real estate investing is, or what wholesaling is? Do you ever? Because I know some people, they feel like they need to try to explain to the homeowner, this is how it works, or is it really more about just the relationship, and then
Yeah, I think that's irrelevant. I think that's too much information. They don't need to know that. All they're looking for is a real estate professional to help solve their problem. If you can just convey that, hey, I'm a buyer in your area. I'm an investor, or I buy houses. I'm looking to pick up a couple more houses this month, and I'm looking to buy. So I have cash. I can close quick. Is that something you might be interested in? So you can.
Do you ever get into the issue of, as a wholesaler, you're not the person who is going to actually buy the house? Do you talk to them about that, or do you just kind of leave it ambiguous about who the ultimate buyer is? How do you handle that? Because I know some people, they're worried about them discovering they don't have any money, or they're not really going to buy the house. But the reality is you're making that connection, and it's a legitimate connection. You're putting cash buyer together with motivated seller. Do you get into that issue that it's going to be assigned?
Rarely. I mean, that's not something that I think most wholesalers concern themselves with. Rarely does it become an issue. I think most wholesalers, from my experience and myself, we just say, "Hey, I'm going to be the buyer." They don't really care or know if you're going to be the buyer or not. Or I mean, a lot of people will represent, "Hey, myself, I have a variety of different partners." And in the contract, it says, "Hey, I'm going to have access to the property up to the day it closes." Because some of my contractors and partners may need to see the property, and those are just ultimately people your potential buyers that you're going to be showing the property to. So it's never really been an issue, but as far as they know, they just need to know that you're the buyer, because ultimately you have equitable interest in that property. You've got the contract on it, so whether you're the one that actually closed on it or someone else, it shouldn't matter to the seller. So,
do you ever use a phrase like, this is probably counter what you just said, but do you ever use a phrase like, I represent an investment group, or I'm just kind of wondering, is there ever a sense that you're kind of telling them that there's more than just me here? I've got some other people that I'm working with and looking for properties for. Do you just keep it simple?
I'm just keep it totally simple. I think the more the more you lead on to that, you may not be the absolute end buyer, or the actual end buyer, the less likely they are to maybe take you serious or want to deal with you, because in their mind, hey, they want to work with someone that they know is the actual buyer, that's going to pay cash, that's going to make it as simple as possible for them. So if a wholesaler tries to explain all the nuances, well, it's not really going to be me. I'm going to try to get some people to show the house to, but I just want to have a contract on it so I can show it to others. I mean,
it seems like it could go real squirrely.
Yeah, from what I've gathered, is all you want them to know is that, hey, I'm gonna buy your house from you. They don't need to know that you're not the actual buyer. It's just, I'm going to buy your house from you. I'm taking it off your hands. Like, as much you want to read into that is up to you.
I think it's a good point, is that really you focus on the solution from their perspective. I know Alan Campos, our licensee out in Phoenix, now oftentimes he's dealing with maybe a buyer at kind of a lower level, but he says one of the things that he mentions to them right up front is, based upon my numbers, it looks like I'll be able to write you a check for X thousand at closing. And he said that's what they focus on is, oh yeah, I'm going to get that big check at closing. And so, they're evaluating it from their perspective, their needs. He's kind of saying, I'm going to meet your need. I understood you needed cash. I'm going to give you cash. And it makes that connection. So, he doesn't get into all the mechanics of how it's going to happen, or even kind of really what the ultimate price is that he's paying. It's kind of like, based on what you owe, what I can do, I'm going to be able to write you a check for this amount. Does that sound like a good idea? And a lot of times that's how you kind of win the deal.
Yeah, they're looking for someone that they can work with that's going to make it easy, someone that's going to handle all the paperwork, and ultimately hey, here's this 2-page contract, or whatever type of contract you want. Here's the price. This is when I'm going to close. I'll handle all the paperwork. I'll get it to the title company. The title company is going to be an independent third party. They're going to be, have both our interests in mind. They're going to make sure that everything goes smooth, and they'll let you know when it's time to come in and close the deal. So as far as they know, it's just a very easy, simple transaction, and you can portray that. And obviously you're being honest and trustworthy, and you want to portray that you're a serious investor, that you're going to do everything you can to close on time, and if possible, you're going to close sooner than anticipated, or sooner than the close date on the contract if possible. And that's the goal for all wholesalers. Obviously, if we can find a buyer within hours or within a day, and the close date is the end of the month, but you can close on the 15th. I mean, that's going to, behoove everybody.
Yeah, everyone's going to, that's good.
And everyone's going to be super happy. So you're going to get paid quicker. The seller is going to get paid quicker. Your buyer is going to be able to get in and start that rehab quicker. So it's going to be a plus for everybody. Maybe the next step would be is, do you go out there or you just send them an offer? I mean, sometimes, I've done tons of deals where I've never even been to the property.
Straight numbers basis.
Yeah, straight numbers, and maybe someone's provided me a property, or it's been an out-of-state property. But a lot of times, I'll get a contract and then go out and see the property. But some people recommend if you can. I mean, it's always good to get out there because you may get more deals if someone actually sees you. So it can go. It just depends how lazy you are, and if you want to make that drive across town.
But there are people who will basically agree to the sale of their property on a phone call.
Yeah, I've had that multiple times. Really? It's happened. So you kind of agree. You get
just gave them the right price.
Yeah, well, you get a price. You kind of feel them out, and you kind of get an idea based on what they tell you about the repairs, and then you can go back and after the conversation, you're always going to ask them, hey, what do you think the property's worth? And they're going to give you an idea. It's always going to be probably higher than what it really is. So you can go back and quickly, run some comps or use some free searches and take an average and get a good guesstimate of what the ARV is. And then based on what they say about what needs to be done to the property, if they say, hey, if it needs a little bit, it's going to always probably be at least double than what they think it is. But based on the square footage, you can kind of put together some rough numbers based on what they say, and you can kind of come up with a good guess of what you think you can offer them. And if obviously you're going to ask, well, hey, what's the least you can take? And before you even know the comps or anything, if you want to understand that number, because afterwards, if you go back and do your research and you say, hey, the very most I can pay is 50, but the very least they're willing to take is 70. Right then and there, it's not worth your time to continue with it, because you don't want to waste their time. And if it's not a deal for you, you need to move on to the next one.
Yeah, you want to be quick.
So and that takes a little bit of time, but that's something you can learn pretty quickly. And there's a lot of free tools out there that can help kind of
establish your threshold as far as where you have to say, all right.
Yeah, and if someone's really motivated and it's always good to get out there and oftentimes to meet them face to face, because they could be, standoffish on the phone and not be willing to accept your offer. But once they get a chance to meet you and see who you are and know that you're a personal person and, you're serious, you get out there and look at it. They could drop $20,000 off their price just after, 20-minute visit with you. So
if you can go out there and
it seems like if you have a conversation with them at the beginning of the call on the phone call before you've gone out, that you start to establish kind of how you work as an investor. One of the phrases I've used before is, I'll say to them now, this is kind of like trading your car in at the dealership rather than selling it. When you trade it in at the dealership, you don't get as much for it, but it's easy. Right. And you get cash for the car that day, and you're able to go and get in your new car. And I've traded in my last 3 or 4 cars, because that appeals to me, right? Mm-hmm. And so sometimes when I explain that to people, they understand, like, I'm going to offer this, retail's maybe this, but there's a reason, that this is attractive. Quick, cash, no repairs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. If you don't feel like I can imagine a scenario where, because I've heard calls where they're literally saying, I'd take $1 for the house to get out of the tax liability or whatever. So I know there's some people that would, if you're saying you would do any contract at any price, would be, positive on that idea. There's others who may be real standoffish if they hear a lowball, it sounds like a lowball number on the phone. What's been your experience with that? Have you found that it's, people pull away from you when they hear the offer, or what you're thinking about the offer might be? Yeah,
because a lot of times you're going to make that cash offer, and they're going to say, well, absolutely no way. That's ridiculous. There's no way I'm going to take that. And then often, I think a great response would be, hey, well, if that doesn't work for you, what would be acceptable? And all of a sudden, you get them to open up and let you know. Because a lot of times you'll say, well, what's the least you can take? And every wholesaler, every investor hates it when they say, well, hey, make me an offer, mm-hmm. and I'll let you know. Because that's, they just kind of reverse the tables. You never want to be in that spot. And I think a good comeback to that is, well, you make an offer throw a number out there. Okay, how about 50,000? Oh, no, that doesn't work. Then, well, what would work for you? And all of a sudden, you've kind of put it back on them, and then you can kind of get a gauge. So, and if they give you something that you may or may not work, then you kind of take it the next step. Well, maybe that's something we can do. Mr. or Mrs. Seller, let me get you a contract. Or if you think it's a good deal, hey, well, when can I get out and see the property? I want to verify some things, and I want to get an offer to you as soon as possible.
Well, cool. That's the next thing we'll talk about is going out to look at these houses and what happens there. Let's take a quick break.